What's going on YouTube? This is your boy Trev, also known as Radiant Knight, and today we are discussing One Piece chapter 1030, Echoing the Impermanence of All Things. This is my first YouTube video. If you like what I'm putting down, make sure to like, subscribe. Let's get into it. Now, we have first things first, Apu and Diaz Drake making an alliance. All right. I don't really know how Apu knew that Drake was a spy. I assume that it might have been knowledge passed down um, within the upper echelon of the Animal Kingdom or Beast pirates, right? So like the headliners, the Toby Rupo, and the Calamities. Um, what I do know is I find it really interesting that Apu is talking about taking down Kaido. Now, obviously, this stems from Queen's betrayal of Apu that kind of had him flip and turn on the entirety of the Beast Pirates. It'll be interesting to see how this plays out, especially with the three individuals that we have behind him. That's right, we get the top three numbers: Inbi, Fuga, and Zanki in the flesh. And it's interesting to see them now, right? Because all the other numbers have been very unintimidating so far, very uninspiring of fear. And I like that these numbers look scary. They look intimidating. Now, I keep hearing a theory that I really don't know what it's based on, that these three numbers are based off of or come from the samurai that helped Yamato escape when she or he was a kid. And I don't really see it myself. One of the numbers has facial hair, just like one of the samurai had facial hair, but it's not the same kind of facial hair. And if you subscribe to the idea that one of the samurai in the cave was Shimotsuki Ushimaru, then the number analogous to Shimotsuki Ushimaru would be number 2, I believe. And they don't look anything alike. I don't really see where this theory even takes off. Doesn't really mean much to me. Anyway, let's continue. So we've gotten every number now except for number 6. And I find it very weird that numbers 1, 2, and 3 were debuted before number 6. And honestly, I'm convinced that we've actually already seen number 6. If you go back to Tokage Port, when the Straw Hats take over that one little outpost at the edge of Onigashima, there was one really big horned guy that Luffy just drops immediately. Honestly, I'm under the impression that that's number 6, because I don't really see how the reveal of number 6 in the story now would actually make any sense. And a friend of mine actually told me that that was a number before we ever saw the numbers, and I didn't believe him because it went down so easy. But we've actually seen numbers just getting one-shotted left and right this arc. I'm actually pretty convinced that he was right, and that is indeed a number. So that's pretty interesting. Next, we have Nami and Usopp discovering Kinemon. And that's a whole can of worms in and of itself, right? Because there's this idea that Oda keeps setting up these fake character deaths, and then but he's never committed himself to actually following through on those deaths. And I definitely agree with that. I think that there's something to be said for that. Oda, if he doesn't like killing characters, shouldn't go through the process of setting up characters to die. That being said, I don't really understand getting mad at it now. This is something that he's always done. The fact that we're getting mad at it seems a little silly to me, right? It's a fool me once, shame on me kind of situation. Fool me twice, or excuse me, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me kind of situation. If he keeps doing it, there's no point in leaving it to really stew with the reader. You know, like I'm not really sure what I'm trying to say. It's on us at this point to get mad at it because he's going to keep doing it, right? So there is to be said a loss of tension, right? We are fighting some of the strongest beings in the entirety of the One Piece universe, and not a single person of note has died, right? But the same can be said for Marineford, right? The strongest people in the One Piece universe gathered at Marineford, and I think 2 people died in the entirety of Marineford, right? Granted, they were 2 very important people, but still, with the hundreds and hundreds of combatants, like 2 people died. So again, this is something that Oda doesn't like to do. I think it's something that we should move on from. It'll always be a part of One Piece that's not the best, but unfortunately, we just have to keep going. So next, we have the fact that Kiku's alive as well as Kanjuro. And there is a really interesting moment between Kanjuro and Orochi, where Orochi, even though he's manipulating Kanjuro, there is a very real element of this Kurozumi vengeance that is kind of spread throughout the arc. There is a genuine, deep-seated hatred of everything Kozuki by the Kurozumi. And I like the idea that in his dying breath, because I actually do think Kanjuro is dead now, I like the idea that in his dying breath, he is kind of cursing everything, all of it, not just anything related to Kozuki, but everything. The pirates, the samurai, the Yakuza, all of it, all of Wano, to burn in this grudge-like manifestation that is the Kanzenbo. And it seems that the Kanzenbo is headed to the basement where Yamato is, or is heading as well, and they're going to have some kind of clash. Maybe Usopp is going to get Kinemon back together, and then he's going to cut fire, team up with Yamato, and kind of end this curse of the Kurozumi once and for all. Obviously, I still think Hiyori and Denjiro are going to show up at some point and deal with Orochi, but when it comes to the dying flames of Kanjuro's will, I think it will be Kinemon to deal the final blow. Now, again, Oda's been throwing curveballs left and right this arc, and I wouldn't be surprised if this isn't the way it goes. But thematically, I think that makes a lot of sense, and I'm all on board to see what happens next. Speaking of Kanzenbo, we have CP0 on the move. Now, it's really interesting to see Brook and Robin on the same page as CP0. It seems like they're coming for Brook and Robin, except Robin's now back on her feet, and she's able to fight, it seems. You know, she has her Hana stance going on. It seems like she's able to fight, so we might get more fights from her. I know Brook says that now is not the time to fight anymore, so maybe they are looking to deal with who's who. Maybe they're looking to deal with Robin. It's interesting to see what's going to happen there. I don't think Robin's going to get kidnapped. It doesn't seem like the Straw Hats will be broken up anymore, right? We get all of the time skip for that. They're broken up there. They come together. They're solid. They clean house in almost every arc they're in. They bite off more than they can chew in Dressrosa, and they're on the back foot, and they have to separate. But it seems like now in Wano, now that they're together, I don't think that we're going to see Straw Hats separated for more than an arc again. Right? So even if she does get kidnapped, which again I find really unlikely because we're just treading um, old ground, old territory. I think that this will be like a kind of like a small bump, right? Not like a big thing. Again, if it happens, I don't think it's going to happen though. So last but not least, we have Big Mom versus Law and Kid. Now, in order to talk about this, we kind of have to talk about Big Mom's showing in Wano as a whole. And she's had a terrible showing in Wano, right? She is not the same character that we got at the start of the time skip, right? She was introduced eating, I think, either just a regular member of her crew or one of her own children, right? That is the implication. And she's been fearsome since then, right? We go to Whole Cake, and the entirety of Whole Cake was spent either being under the radar or running from her, because to engage with Big Mom in combat directly was to die. That's just simply how she was portrayed in Whole Cake. And in Wano, she just hasn't been the same beast, right? She has been strangely short-sighted, myopic, and not aware of her surroundings for someone who's supposed to be a 68-year-old pillar of the One Piece universe, a shrewd politician, right? She has a very, very powerful acumen for politics, right? Constantly making alliances, constantly forging these anchor baby connections between all these different races. She has had a wonderful backstory, a very understandable motivation, and we've gotten none of that this arc. In fact, she has been quite the useless character. She's got nothing but being dunked on this entire arc. She's been judo rolled by Robin out of a building. She has been grabbed by the back of her head and dunked on her face by Kid. She's been drop kicked off a waterfall by King. She's been brachiobombed by Queen. She's been slammed in the face by Frankie, ridden on by Chopper. She's gotten amnesia. She's just been a joke. And it's really interesting to see Law and Kid kind of just out of the blue reveal their awakening. Kroom is a very interesting ability, and I hope we get to see more of that. As far as I'm concerned, it seems like Law has taken this room that he usually does and just coated his sword in it to make a sword that acts as a room. And then he transfers the property of that room to Big Mom's internals. And I think he's essentially neutralized Big Mom's defenses. Because not only is she bleeding from the internal injuries that Law gave her, I find it very strange that Kid's assign, right, his magnetism, has made it so that she's taking what I feel is genuine damage from steel beams. Steel beams of all things, right? This is the lady whose forearm is the equivalent of a Kong gun. And she seems to be taking genuine damage from these steel beams. You know, she's like actually screaming from getting hit by Punk Clash. And I'm very interested to see where this is going to go. Obviously, this is something that we're going to have to wait for next chapter or the chapter after that. But it seems like Kroom might be the key to victory. I just hope that Kid can do some actual damage to take her out. That's what we all want to see. That's what Killer fought for the last chapter when it came to freeing Kid from Hawkins' control. And I really want to see Kid shine. I'm not a Kid stan by any stretch of the imagination, but in order for there to be some semblance of a rivalry between Luffy, Law, and Kid, they need to show up and show out now. Now, whether Big Mom is going to go down or not, I think it's more and more likely as time goes by that she is going to go down here. And there's a lot to be said as to whether she would show up in Elbaf. Shoot, even if Elbaf is an actual like major arc in and of itself. But I also just hope to I hope that it's not going to be like a 2-chapter thing, right? A 3-chapter thing max, which it probably will be, because unfortunately it seems like Big Mom's being treated as a side fight. But I hope we get to at least see more from Big Mom before she goes down, because it has been a very poor showing the entirety of this arc. And it's very clear that Oda has taken, who is by far, in my opinion, the most interesting Yonko, and dropped her down to a level where she isn't to be respected. She is a terrible fighter in every situation that isn't one-on-one. And honestly, she's frankly just kind of stupid. And that's not the Big Mom that we got, and I hope that we return to the Big Mom that we got in Whole Cake, the Big Mom that we got after the end of Fishman Island. And I simply know that that's not going to be the case, unfortunately. But a man can hope. Anyway, that is the entirety of the chapter. I hope you guys enjoyed. Again, this is my first YouTube video, so if there are any suggestions you have for me, please let me know down below. Comment on anything that you want to talk about. Let's get some discussion going. Let's get a whole bunch of different opinions in there. And remember, don't be toxic. We're all fans. We all love this series, and we all want to see One Piece thrive. I love you guys. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Peace.